Good morning. Welcome to the gathering time of Southern Hills Christian Church in Edmond, Oklahoma. We're broadcasting live from the Whitwall Sanctuary. Today is Sunday, January 17th, 2021, the 45th Sunday that we have been worshiping together in this way. I'm Chuck Marshall, Director of Communications and Technology. I'm joined by the Reverend Dr. Rob Crawford. Good morning, Rob.
Good morning, Chuck. Good morning, church. It is a blessing to be with you, even if it is via hashtag SHCC1045. Please continue to greet each other in the room. It's fun to watch things unfold in there, although we're just slightly behind you, but not too far. So please continue to greet each other in the way you are, and know that you can do so on Facebook and YouTube. So, Chuck?
Just got the message to check my mic. Thank you, Robin.
Whoop, whoop.
I was muted, but I think I probably was heard by being picked up by your mic. So, but now it'll sound better. So it's the 45th week, and we are about to inaugurate the 46th POTUS. Has it been a week or what?
I'd go with or what. Beyond record numbers and the biblical plague we seem to be living through, aka COVID-19, it would appear that the tension in our nation has gone well beyond hyperbole, moving beyond a boiling point.
I'd say that's an understatement. So many people are acting out of anger and confusion. It's painful to watch.
Yes, it is. I will say that coming to worship this morning, even if it is via hashtag SHCC1045, is something I've been looking forward to, Chuck. I look forward to getting here, seeing your face, and the many names down there and the faces that I imagine we are talking to when we're preaching or talking or bantering as we are now. It's a blessing to be in a relationship with each of you. We need each other at this time. Our friends, our family need us too, maybe the ones even that we're not getting along with. So as we gather to worship and as we find comfort in one another, as we talk about what we've seen and what's happening with people who care about us, and who we know love us, some of whom may not agree with everything we have to say politically or theologically, but who have no doubt that we love each other. Mm-hmm. And our country needs more of that. So disciples, as Sharon Watkins said, our time has come. We have to be the bridge builders we are. We have to work on seeing the divine in everyone. And that's part of the joy of coming to worship here on a day like this, as our nation is fraught with angst and worry. A part of the added challenge of COVID is that many people are still experiencing social isolation, Chuck. Not just, we talk about safe distancing, but they're experiencing isolation. And we really need to figure out who they are and reach out to them and call them and just talk to them about something you can agree upon, or just, and hopefully you can agree upon the innate worth of every human being you encounter.
Yeah.
I never thought love would be a countercultural message.
No, you don't have to agree with everyone, but just let someone know that you're thinking about them. Now more than ever is the time to be reaching out to those friends that we haven't heard from in a while, especially perhaps the ones with whom you don't agree, and assure them that you value them and care about what they have to say, as I was just saying.
Reach out.
All of us have some serious listening to do.
What's that?
Funny.
Sorry, Chuck. You are right, of course, as was the case when the events unfolded this summer.
Mm-hmm. After George Floyd.
Right.
When
he was killed, and then the rioting, the protesting and rioting that erupted, and the vandalism, the destruction, and the needless end of life, and the 400 years of suffering for our people of color friends. And it's all bubbling up and processed via the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week news cycle. It's just another element of our digital era as we experience the shock and the trauma of a virus. We watch together mostly. We watch together as things unfold on the TV. It's kind of strange.
It doesn't have to be this way. We can choose a different path.
Agreed. It's not easy. And I think this time we have the desperately added challenge of helping our neighbors and perhaps some of our family members to turn off the TV, go for a walk. This is where you reduce the news and you replace it with something that's life-giving. That's not to say we're not aware of what's going on, and the things are very serious, and we do have to stay informed. But once we know what we know, we don't have to be told how to feel or think about it a million times.
Yeah.
Because, we have to pray for the people you hate, which I hope you don't hate, because as you hate a hater, they win. You got to shake it off.
Shake it off. Shake it off.
Easier to say or sing.
sing.
But it is the way.
This is the way.
Speaking of which, shout out to Bill Richardson for picking up on the Mandalorian reference last week. If you don't know what that means, find someone who does. There's your challenge. Connecting with each other brings us hope, and it cultivates stronger relationships, and that's what our world needs right now.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Guess we better move on to your favorite segment, Rob.
Who can complain about some God-given science, Chuck?
Well, I mean...
Never mind. I withdraw the question. I was being, as you like to remind me, I was being rhetorical. So let's get to it, Chuck.
All right. This week on God-Given Science, we're talking about greenhouse gas emissions, but at the last minute, we will get to that, but at the last minute, I read about something I wanted to add. I saw last night that the incoming administration has selected their science team and elevated the director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy to a cabinet level position for the first time.
It must be all that prayer and thanksgiving for God-given science, right?
It must be.
Yeah.
The director the nominated director is Eric Lander, who is a mathematician and geneticist who helped map the human genome and founded the Broad Institute, a biomedical research center known for their work on the gene editing technology
CRISPR,
which we've talked a lot about.
I like it.
On God-Given Science.
I mean, there's a lot of ethical implications and great conversations around that.
Absolutely. Great work to be done, but, a lot of ethical implications, as you say. The science team will focus on 5 key areas: the coronavirus pandemic, the economy, the climate crisis, industry technology advancements, and the long-term health of science and tech in the country.
It can't be a bad thing to embrace science, and I really do believe it's one of God's greatest gifts given to us. We're going to drop an article, the full article. Is that what we're doing, Chuck?
Yeah, I thought I would drop that in there. So if you can stall for a moment, Rob.
Yeah, it's on Reuters. We're dropping some sources. One of the things I did over Advent as a discipline was to reduce noise, and so I gave myself a limited amount of social media and 24-hour, 7 news a day screen time. And I read. And when you read Reuters or AP, you can pretty much get the facts, and then guess what, Chuck? You can figure out how to think or feel about it yourself.
Yeah. So the article that I just dropped a link to is not the one about the new science policy director. It is about what we are about to talk about on God-Given Science here, the greenhouse gas emissions. According to a report released Tuesday by the Rhodium Group, U.S. greenhouse gas emissions fell 10.3% in 2020, the largest drop in emissions in the post-World War II era. And of course, we've mentioned this before. The good news for the environment comes with bad news for the U.S. economy, though.
It's true. Leading the decline was the transportation sector, which saw a sharp emissions drop of 14.7% from 2019 as travel diminished, especially at the start of the pandemic last March, the report said.
Power plant emissions saw the second largest decline, dropping 10.3% below 2019 levels, driven by retirements of coal-fired power plants and a general decline in electricity demand due to the economic damage from the pandemic, the report also said.
With coronavirus vaccines now in distribution, we expect economic activity to pick up again in 2021, but without meaningful structural changes in the carbon intensity of the U.S. economy, emissions will likely rise again as well, according to the report.
So maybe this is an opportunity. The research shows that a drop in the use of fossil fuels can make a big impact in a short amount of time. With companies like Blink Charging Company, Raleigh and I were just talking about them the other day, blinkcharging.com if you want to find out about them. But with Blink Charging Company adding electric charging stations all over the country, we're seeing the necessary infrastructure take shape for electric vehicles. And it may be a little while before that happens, but that is, for me, that's what I would need in order to buy an electric vehicle so that I could drive cross country.
Yep, that's what it is. And it's we're just living in a transformative time in so many different ways.
So many.
And since I use the word transformative, I got to drop a line for our vision. Vision says transformative. Anyway,
absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of electric vehicles, did you see that General Motors has changed their logo? The new logo is supposed to represent their move toward electric vehicles. I mean, the change is happening. The question is, can we get ahead of it, and can we be leaders in it? And I think we can.
Yeah, it has to do with being nimble. And I did see that in the new logo. It's supposed to, the M in GM is supposed to represent like an electrical plug.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
anyway.
GE kind of, Remember, we bring good things to life.
We bring good things to life, yeah. But I also noticed that Volkswagen and Kia are doing something similar. They've changed their logos as well, and they are really making a push for electric vehicles, EVs.
It's a global issue. I mean, many would argue it's the biggest issue facing our day. It would be nice if we get through the week so that we could face this challenge.
Absolutely.
So the article I read said that GM would debut a campaign beginning this week to promote mass adoption of electric vehicles, and will launch a new GM.com, of course, because if you're going to do something, you have to have a new website, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
We've been talking about that around here, haven't we?
We have.
So,
so I'm no financial expert, but I'm hoping that with the auto industry going all in on EVs, the economy will right itself through the adoption of these new technologies. You know, as fossil fuels, that we have so much industry tied to fossil fuels and the money that brings.
Especially here in Oklahoma,
I'm picturing a new industrial revolution, but with much less pollution. I, for one, would like to hope that there is an electric vehicle in my future.
Maybe, we are a Green Chalice congregation. It would make sense if that were the case to have an electric pump here.
It would.
But it's not a pump if it's an electric pump. It's probably
it's an electric charging station.
Yeah, there we go.
And, it would make sense to eventually have an electric vehicle like our church van out there.
I mean, we are a Green Chalice congregation, and that means we try to be green friendly, and we try to be good stewards of the earth. A conservative value from way back in the day. It makes it in to the very first chapter. Mm-hmm. We are called to be good stewards of the earth. Actually, I think that's the second chapter, but you take my point. It's not my field of expertise either, but I think we can be innovative as we have historically and find a way to make growth, have clean energy, declining greenhouse emissions, and this has presented us with an opportunity to rethink how we live.
Yeah, maybe check both boxes.
Right. I think this shows a very big picture view, and those are sometimes painful. It's not going to happen overnight. Nobody's going to be left behind. It'll be generational work. But you can't tackle something like climate change without looking at it and how it affects the economy and making sure we take care of everybody as we go.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the Eric Lander, the new science team leader, as they outlined the things that they were going to be looking at, economy was one of them. And you don't necessarily think of scientists looking at the economy, the way they look at climate change. But I think that it kind of shows that it's all linked, and they're going to be looking at the big picture, as you say.
Nothing happens in a vacuum, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So before we move on from God-given science, what are the numbers this week?
Well, the numbers this week have improved. Last week we were at 25 point something, somewhere in the 25s, and they've come down to 22.1%, 22.1% COVID positivity rate.
Good. Let's hope they keep moving in that direction. Everybody out there, stay in. If you need some help getting some groceries brought to you or whatever, let us know. We'll help. It is a part of what we all have to do.
Well, that was kind of a long God-given science. So moving on to Theologian's Almanac from our friends at the SALT Project. What's going on this week, Rob?
Well, over at SALT Project, we give thanks to our friends. We've been saying that we're going to interview one of the co-creators as part of our new segment, which will be a part of 3.0, where we're going to interview disciples, and we're going to interview folks here in the congregation. So, friends, if you have questions that you would like to ask people, what are they? So that we're trying to form a template and to have some form so we can hear different things about people and get to know each other a little bit better, and also the disciples. So if you have any input there, we'd like to hear it. So back to SALT for the week beginning January 17th. We start with January 18th, the day that Martin Luther King Jr. Day is observed annually. It is observed annually on the third Monday of January, honoring the life and work of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. The day became a national holiday in 1986 and is often observed with service projects, a public concert, and a prayer breakfast, or many other ways. Our friends at the SALT Project have produced a short film for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, pulling together evocative moments of archival footage from the 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom.
No doubt Dr. King would want us to remember and celebrate all the people who made the march possible, inspiring us more than half a century later to keep working for jobs, freedom, equal rights, liberation, inclusivity, and a world in which Black lives truly matter.
Let's have a look.
Let's look.
Again, we follow the narrative lectionary. We are on track with it right now. So if you want to go out beyond that, they're there, or just email me and I'll respond with the plan through Lent.
I just got a text message from Steve Bulwer that said we have no sound. So we do now, but when we came back from our video, probably at that point we had no sound. So folks, you didn't miss a whole lot. I think we are skipping a few things and just moving right into announcements. And so, Rob, if you want to start that announcement again,
okay.
I think we'll be caught up.
Good. Thank you, Chuck. Scripture for reading for the next 2 Sundays will be from Luke 5, 1 through 11. The second will be Luke 6, 1 through 16. We are following the narrative lectionary. If you want to get out ahead of that, you can take a look at that online, or you can call me or email me, and I'll email you back with our plan through up to Lent.
Okay. Faith and Fellowship resumes via Zoom this Wednesday. Kids meet from 6 to 6:30, and youth meets from 6:30 to 7. Links are on the Facebook pages, and that raises a question for me, probably a question for Sarah, I should say. This used to be called Fun and Fellowship, but I've seen it as Faith and Fellowship the last couple of weeks. I don't know if we've had a name change or if it's just a, typo or what, but Sarah can maybe answer that question.
Well,
either way, it's a children's program on Wednesday nights.
Well, I mean, come on, Chuck. Are not faith and fun synonymous?
Clearly they are.
I mean, come on. Mathematical genius, will you help us out with that? Disciples Women meet this Monday via Zoom at 1 o'clock for their monthly meeting. All are welcome to join them. Contact Carol and Christy if you have any questions.
Birthdays this week are Joanne Hager, Robin Cowperthwaite,
Happy
my
birthday.
wife. Yeah, happy birthday to Robin. Pat Fennell and Jilly Rake.
Jilly Rake.
Happy birthday, everyone.
Happy birthday, everyone. We love you, and we will see you in worship in about 3 minutes, right?
About that time.
All right. Shalom.